Have you ever watched a Marvel movie and thought, man, this villain had a pretty good point, but they just couldn't stick the landing? It's a classic story. A powerful baddie shows up. They've got a grand plan, maybe even a sympathetic backstory. But in the end, they always lose. Why is that? Is it just because the heroes have to win? Well, yes, but it's way more interesting than that. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology and strategy, or lack thereof, behind why Marvel villains are practically designed to fail. Let's start with the big one, a fatal flaw I like to call I, me, mine syndrome. Think about it. Thanos, Ultron, Hela, Ego, what do they all have in common? A massive ego and a complete inability to trust anyone but themselves. Thanos gathers the most powerful objects in the universe. But does he build a team of loyal, empowered lieutenants? No, he uses and discards them. His children are more like terrified employees than a family. Because he can't fathom anyone else's intelligence matching his own. This, I am the only one who can do this mindset, is their greatest weakness. Heroes, on the other hand, build teams. But they trust each other. They combine Gijich powers, cover each other's weaknesses, and fight as a unit. One hero might be weaker, but a team is always stronger than one ego. Next up, let's talk about plans. They are always unnecessarily complicated and have way too many steps. Remember Loki in the first Avengers. His plan involved getting captured on purpose to then manipulate the team from inside the helicarrier, to then escape, to then open a portal over New York. Why not just open the portal from the start with the Tesseract? It's classic villain logic. The plan has to be dramatic and theatrical, not efficient. Zemo in Civil War is another prime example. His plan was a masterpiece of manipulation, relying on dozens of tiny variables projettos to fall perfectly into place. It worked, but the sheer number of potential failure points is staggering. Heroes' plans are usually much simpler. We have to stop the bad guy. They adapt. They improvise. Villains get so fixated on their one perfect, convoluted plan that when one little thing goes wrong, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. They are terrible project managers. Another key reason for their failure is what I call monologue mania. Just when they have the hero on the ropes, about to deliver the final blow, what do? They stop to talk. They have to explain their entire philosophy, their tragic backstory, how clever their plan was, and how inevitable their victory is. Obadiah Stane did it with Tony. Ultron couldn't stop pontificating. Even Thanos took a few breaks to explain his Malthusian philosophy to anyone who would listen. This gives the hero, or their friends, the precious seconds they need to recover, find a weakness, or stage a dramatic comeback. If villains just finished the job, they'd win a lot more often. But their ego demands validation. They don't just want to win. They want the hero to understand why they lost. It's a fatal need for a captive audience. And this ties into their emotional instability. Many Marvel villains are driven by raw, unchecked emotion. Zemo is driven by grief and a desire for revenge. Killmonger is fueled by a lifetime of anger and a feeling of abandonment. Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness is consumed by her sorrow. These powerful emotions give them their initial motivation, and it often makes them incredibly compelling and sympathetic. We understand their pain. But raw emotion is a terrible guide for long-term strategy. It makes them reckless, short-sighted, and prone to mistakes. They lash out, they miscalculate, and they alienate potential allies. Heroes feel these same emotions, but the arc of a hero is learning to control and channel them. Steve Rogers channels his sense of duty. Tony Stark channels his guilt into innovation. Villains let their emotions control them. And that fire ultimately consumes them and their plans. Let's also not forget the power paradox. Marvel villains often seek ultimate power. The Infinity Stones, the Darkhold, cosmic energy, you name it. But here's the paradox. The more power they acquire, the more arrogant and less careful they become. Ronan the Accuser, once he gets the Power Stone, thinks he's invincible. He literally laughs in the face of the Guardians, giving them the opening they need for their dance-off distraction. Ego, a literal god, gets so caught up in his own plan of expansion that he underestimates the emotional power of his own son. They see the ultimate power as the end goal, but they forget that wielding it effectively requires wisdom and restraint, two things they are famously short on. The power corrupts their judgment, making them ironically weaker in the moments that count the most. Finally, there's a simple narrative truth. They are narratively designed to highlight the hero's strengths. A villain's entire existence in a story is to be a dark mirror of the hero. Killmonger represents what T'Challa could have become without his family and a connection to his home. Zemo's success in tearing the Avengers apart highlights the very cracks that the heroes needed to mend. Thanos' belief in forced sacrifice is a twisted version of the hero's willingness to self-sacrifice. The villain has to present a twisted, but tempting, ideology. Their failure isn't just a loss in a fight. It's a rejection of that ideology. The hero's victory is a reaffirmation of their own values: hope, teamwork, sacrifice, and humanity. The villain must fail so the hero's journey has meaning. They are the ultimate test, and by overcoming them, the hero proves their worth and reinforces the central theme of the story. So, while it might seem frustrating to see a villain with a good point fail, their failure is woven into their very DNA. From their massive egos and overly complex plans to their need to monologue and emotional instability, they are walking, talking cautionary tales. They are a reminder that power without wisdom, ambition without teamwork, and intelligence without humility is a recipe for disaster. And that, right there, is why the heroes, with all their flaws, will always assemble and always win. Thanks so much for watching. What's your favorite reason why Marvel villains fail? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the worlds we love. See you next time.